If someone tells you they need to get a life, tell them to join us here at Road Gang Radio with Lindsay Lawler and Jimmy Mac. Let's seize the day with Phone Master Dre.
Woo! Seize that day and take it, because this is Road Gang Radio, and I'm happy to be here with Lindsay Lawler and Jimmy Mac.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here too, Phone Master Dre.
Mute your Google Meet, please.
Mine is muted. I am a muted Von Mute.
Sorry, I thought I muted it.
I am Captain Mute over here. I feel I've been muted. Go on.
Well, okay, and scene. Welcome back to Road Gang Radio. That's Jimmy Mac. I'm Lindsay Lawler. Phone Master Day over there on the ones and the twos, keeping us on, keeping us surviving and thriving. Mainly surviving, and thriving. Speaking of thriving, Jimmy Mac, I don't know if there's a better guest for our trucking audience. If you've been driving a truck and you're like, what could I do to spice things up? I think our next guest is your cup of tea.
Matter of fact, we're going to give him a little bit of intro music after I do the following here. I can't wait to actually dig in this. It's something that Claire and I just are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs about. Don't, guys, forget at the end of this show, the Truckers for Troops Week continues on Trucking with OIDA as Chris Admire, Executive Director of the Veterans Community Project. Yes, it's a tiny home community for veterans who need a place to live while they get their lives back on track. You like those tiny homes, Lindsay? Tiny homes.
I do. I'm about to have one on my property.
But it's also so much more, most notably a place to get any help that they need in any form that it's needed. No matter what, no questions asked. Failure is not an option for the VCP, and that attitude informs every decision that the Veterans Community Project makes. It's a long-form conversation with our friends Scott and Ashley and Chris Admire on Trucking with OIDA. We'll take a deep breath, and then we will bring our guest in. Lindsay, you couldn't have said it better. To say that I'm excited is an absolute understatement about our next guest. As you probably know, Claire and I love the great outdoors. We love hiking, we love biking, and we love geocaching, by the way. And we are thrilled to welcome Bryan Roth. He is the president and one of three co-founders of Geocaching HQ, the company that supports the global game of geocaching. They launched it in 2000. He has worked with a passionate team, and they have leveraged technology to encourage outdoor recreation and real-world exploration. They've helped grow geocaching into a worldwide community, and I agree. Mental well-being, physical well-being, environmental well-being, and a meaningful social connection through shared adventure. Bryan's commitment to creating experiences is what we're going to be talking about today. Good morning to you, sir. Welcome aboard.
Good morning. I'm really delighted to be on this show.
Bryan, I'm super excited to have you here. You actually go really well with our one of our last guests today, who ended up selling everything she had and now travels the world pet sitting. Between her and you and what you do, and then our truck driving community, this is like a trifecta of greatness. But what I want to say and start out here is that, all you need is this free app, and suddenly the entire world becomes a giant scavenger hunt that gets, people outside and moving and exploring, and most importantly, connecting with people. And so it seems to me, Bryan, that, you're all about using technology to get folks into nature, spark adventure, and build that community. So what I want to say here is that, in my opinion, it seems to me that you are part of humanity's evolution. Is that too profound for this, or are you doing your part to help us not take ourselves so seriously and enjoy life, I'll say?
I mean, that's a really great way to look at it. I would say it's profound, but not too profound. So, as a game, as a community, this is about people creating experiences to share with other people. That hiding boxes out in nature, all over the world. And then people are using the geocaching app to go out with their friends, their family. If they're on a long drive, they're stopping at a rest area, and it's like, oh, what can I do around here? And there's boxes hidden all over the place. And some of them are hard to find. Some of them are easy to find. But, I think modern day society, when you talk about evolution, we know that we spend too much time sitting on couches or in front of televisions or other screens. And here's an opportunity to leverage technology to inspire people to go outside and explore and find something new and discover places that they haven't necessarily been to before, even in their own neighborhood. I've had that experience myself, and then plenty of others as well. So there's this global community of millions of people all over the world. Collectively, they've hidden 3.4 million boxes. And the boxes are referenced by coordinates. Each one has a difficulty rating and a terrain rating, but they're really everywhere. And so for people who travel, or if you're looking for something fun to do with your kids or your grandparents, it's a way to get outside and do something different. And so it is a little bit of an evolution, because why do we take ourselves so seriously? Like, we should be having fun. Just because we grow up from sort of childhood where it's all fun and move into adulthood, like, you still have to find the fun. And, geocaching is certainly one of the outlets that provides for that.
I'm going to actually kind of take the conversation in the same direction before asking my question. And I want you guys to go to geocaching.com /play. What's great about the website is it actually will tell you how many geocaches are around your particular area. For instance, I'm in the city of New Orleans. There are currently 466 geocaches around New Orleans. There's also on the website immediately, right at the top of the page, just click the play button and you'll find out what geocaching is. Lindsay talked about the idea of the evolution. You actually, Bryan, made mention of where we could possibly head. Is that geocaching, I've often said that because we have the ability to choose in a way that nothing else on this planet can, we can make choices. We can choose to let technology shut us inside. We can choose to let technology close us off to the rest of the world and allow it to affect our health, our outcomes, and all that kind of stuff. Or we can use technology to actually embrace community, social well-being, and become better stewards of the earth. And this seems like it's almost in the same way. Do you remember when they first started bringing computers into the office place, that they would actually let people play hours on end of solitaire? Because it would teach people how to use a mouse. And it feels in many ways that geocaching becomes a great training tool in some degrees, a great way to build corporate communities that spend time outside. Playing for the sake of playing ultimately is the best reason to play. But do you feel like this has applications in regards to the development of not just play, but business and culture as well? And can you kind of talk about that?
You bet. So, first of all, the technology is a conduit. This is really about community. This is really about technology being the tool that you use to access these experiences that have been created by other people. And so people are bringing you to cool places, or they're creating puzzle caches that are really difficult to solve, where you have to either figure out a math problem, or you're looking at a photo and you have to interpret something to actually figure out what the coordinates are. I just read a cache listing the other day, and it was based on The Princess Bride, the movie. Hopefully everybody's seen it. If you haven't, it's awesome. But it basically had a picture of all the characters, and each character was numbered. And for each of the coordinates, there was a set of coordinates, a latitude and longitude, and the coordinates were replaced with letters. And for each letter, there was a quote, and you had to say, which character said that quote? And you plug the numbers into the coordinates, and that gave you the final coordinates for where the box is hidden. And so there's a puzzle element, like you have to solve it. And that's, for me, I love the movie, so that was a relatively easy one. There's puzzles out there that I can't solve. And so you have teams of people or groups of people who are trying to figure out, you get a super mathematician who's into geocaching, and they create like a trigonometry-based geocache. Well, for sort of maybe non-super mathematicians like me, maybe I need some help. And so there's some collaboration, there's some communication. You're working together to solve a problem. Some caches are up in trees in Germany, 150 feet high, and you need special tools to go find them. And it's like, well, I don't have climbing ropes that'll go up to 150 feet. Who in the community knows this? And so it's like working together, building community. Another aspect of geocaching, like it's not just about the boxes, but about the journey to get there. A lot of people use geocaching as a way to stay healthy, as a way to keep moving, staying active, and then even just through exploration, going to new places. I think, as humans, we're set in our routines. It's so easy to be sedentary. It's so easy to not leave your hometown. But when you've got inspiration, when you hear about something that somebody else has done, and it sounds really cool, and oh look, they're having fun, they're experiencing this joy. Like, I want some of that. And then you say, all right, well, kids, let's get in the car. We're going to go to this next town over, or we're going to travel to another country because we want to experience, we want to try this experience that's been created. And so people have lost weight. It's good for you mentally to explore and get out and see new things and try new things and challenge yourself in different ways. And there's a lot of things out there that can give you the ability to do that. But geocaching is one of them, where with all of these different experiences and all these different people participating, there's really it's an unlimited variety of things that you can do and experience through this game that will challenge you in so many different ways. It's like exercising at the gym. If you want to build your muscles, you go and you use them. Well, if you want to exercise your mind, if you want to exercise your body, you have to move. You have to think. You have to challenge yourself. You have to push yourself beyond what you're comfortable with. And thanks to a global community of people who share this sort of sentiment, there's so much to do out there. There was a show called The Brain Show, and I think it was on one of the science channels, and they talked about a town where they had cobblestone streets, and they had another town that had paved roads. And they did an analysis on the old people and found that the people who were living in the cobblestone streets performed better on cognitive tests. And the theory was, if the flat concrete road or concrete streets don't provide you a lot of variety. You're not thinking. You're just, it's a consistent step forward each time. Whereas when you're working with cobblestones, there's a little bit of variety. And so in a way, geocaching is like an extension of that. It's like, take mundane everyday life, and I hope it's not mundane. I hope everybody's found their thing that they're excited about, but take the life that everybody is living now and add a little bit more joy, add a little bit more community, adventure, discovery, exploration, and that's what makes life worth living.
Wow. I mean, I'm inspired. This is not something that would normally sort of be in my wheelhouse, but as I get, full disclosure, as I get older, I keep saying, I'm shifting what's important to me, what are my priorities to me, and therefore it's shifting my interests. So I think this is really cool. And what's really interesting here is that you're in this unique lane of actually using tech to get people off their screens. So this is a funny balance I want to talk about. But as you mentioned, it is impacting people's mental health, their physical activity, and their moods. And to me, most importantly, reconnecting people to communities in the world. So can you talk about like how you're able to consciously, cognizantly balance that, work through that balance of, yes, it is a screen app, but it's a one time to then get you out and then eventually off of that tech. How do you balance those two?
I mean, it's really the nature of the game. So you're going out into nature. The app itself will show you where the geocaches are on a map. You can read you can see the difficulty level, the terrain level. It's 1 to 5. A difficulty of 1 means when you get to the coordinates, it's going to be really easy to see. And a difficulty of 3, maybe it's a fake rock hidden among a bunch of fake rocks. A difficulty of 5 is like a very, very difficult puzzle that I would not advise, or a very heavily camouflaged cache. Terrain rating of 1 means you should be able to get there in a wheelchair. So, maybe it's a concrete path, maybe it's easy to reach from a seated position. 3 could be a decent hike. A 4 is a strenuous hike. Difficulty of 5 is special equipment required. So you need a kayak, or you need climbing gear, or you need scuba gear, or you need the gear that's going to help you get up into the tree or rappel off the side of a cliff. And they're not all that crazy, but some of them are. Then in the app, you can read the description, and the person that hid the cache will often tell you about the area, or they'll tell you something special about the location that you're going to go. Maybe they'll provide a hint that when you get there, hey, it's metallic. So if you're standing next to a guardrail, maybe it's a metallic container on the far side of the guardrail. But the tech really presents you with the information. And then you go outside, and you can look at your screen, and at a minimum, it's going to give you a compass, and it'll give you a distance. And so you turn in the direction of the compass, and you either drive or walk in that direction until the distance counts down to, say, 5-10 feet. And then really what we say is put your phone in your pocket. And really when you're navigating, it's okay. If you're a mile away, well, you're moving in this direction. You don't have to stare at your phone the whole time. Ideally, you have to go a mile in that direction. You put your phone in your pocket, you look around, you enjoy and appreciate nature, or appreciate the environment that you're in while you're looking for the cache. And when you get close enough, then they say, use your geo senses. And it's like, if I was going to look for a hidden box around here, where would I hide it? Where would I have put it? And you could read the size of the cache. Some of them are, bigger than a bread box. A regular size cache is like an ammo can. There's very small caches that are the size of a thimble, or one of those little bison tube pill containers. Some of them are really well camouflaged. Some of them are not. But most of the time, you're out geocaching, you're not looking at your phone, you are enjoying the journey. Or, like me, you're working hard to kind of find the cache, and some of them take a little bit of extra work. It could be a hollowed out bolt on the bottom of a picnic table. And I use that example deliberately because me and my wife and kids sat around for 30 minutes, looking around this area, not knowing what it was, and eventually realized, my goodness, it is this fake bolt with a little piece of paper rolled up into it. So one thing to note, every geocache, every physical geocache has a logbook. So when you find a cache, you take the logbook, you sign your handle in the logbook. So everybody's got like a username that you create when you set up a geocaching account. And then if the cache is big enough, it will often have trinkets and toys. You can take something out as long as you put something in for the next person. So it is the spirit of fairness and trade fairly, trade up, trade evenly. And then you put it back exactly how you found it, so that the next person gets to have that same type of experience. And oftentimes, like, you get to the cache and you find it and you sort of do the happy dance because it is a eureka moment, especially if you've worked hard to find it. And then you can look at the logbook, and over time you start to see, especially if you're caching in your own community, you start to see names that you recognize, you start to see people maybe that you've heard about. And then every so often there are geocaching events that are all over the world, and you can go to events, you can meet the local community, you can get to meet the person that's really, creating these super cool geocaches, or the person that's found 50,000 geocaches worldwide, or the person that's traveled to 72 different countries, and you get to share the stories. And so much of that doesn't involve the phone. So much of that is just, hey, the phone's going to point you in the right direction, and then you have to go. And when you go, then you get the reward. Being outside, being out in nature, again, exploring, discovering, meeting people, talking to people. And the game has had a profound effect on a lot of people's lives. And I know these people because I've had the experience to talk to so many of them. And people have come up to me and said, listen, 3 years ago, I have to tell you, I was in a really bad place. And you could see on their face that they mean it. And they said, I found this game and I found friendship and this community, and it's inspired me to travel more, or to be more active, or to solve some of these puzzles because I know I can. And now all of a sudden I'm a different person than I was 3 years ago. And, I have this game to thank. And, that is, as we talked about being profound, that's profound because here we are with a game and the combination of the game and nature and a little bit of technology, and all of a sudden people's lives are being changed in a positive way. And, there's nothing better than that.
Jim, he's clearly not passionate about this at all. That's the real problem.
That's the real heartbreaking
bummer.
thing. That's a heartbreaking situation. But
We're
maybe
talking with Bryan Roth. You can go to geocaching, that's CACHING.com. And Jim, I am not in a wheelchair, and yet I'm still a one, I think. And that's okay. His point is there's something for everyone. Do not be deterred. Everyone can get in on this game, Jim.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a question. I actually know the answer, but I want you to kind of let people know that this is a game that goes both ways. Let's say a guy had a horror podcast that he was working on, 10 scary stories, all of them involved trucking on the road, and each one of them took place at an actual location. And let's say that guy decided that he wanted to leave a little special kind of Easter egg at all of those locations. And let's say that in one of those locations, when a person found that Easter egg in that location, they would also get the code, say, to a additional piece of bonus content, free of course. Can somebody actually get into the geocache community as a way of kind of making their own puzzles and their own riddles and their own challenges for folks out there who are looking to exercise some of their creative brain power while getting out there and walking and kind of laying out their own journey towards wonder and excitement?
Yes, you bet. And really the way that it works, we encourage people who are interested in hiding caches, creating experiences, go out and find a bunch of them first. Go find 20 caches, 25 caches, even go find, 50 or more caches. Get an idea for what works. What do you like? What do you enjoy? Because it'll really help frame your perspective on what others might enjoy. And then the platform really gives you the ability to do some storytelling. So I'll give you an example. There was a geocacher who he lived near Frankfurt. He lives near Frankfurt, and he was a tram operator. So he ran like the city trains. He was one of the operators of the city trains, and he was really interested in the TV show 24 with Kiefer Sutherland. It was super cool, but he decided to create a multi-stage geocache where you would have to, there was a storyline built in, you would have to ride the trains at a particular schedule. And when you would start, there was actually a waiting list to play this one, but you would have to dial a number and it would start the geocache experience. And then you'd have to get on a train at a certain time and get to a payphone at a specific time and answer the phone, and you would get clues to the next one and so on. And if you missed a segment, you would get a call and say, you're done. Sorry, you lose. And in order to do it, you had to have people who would ride the trains. You had to have people who were at home solving puzzles and making phone calls and giving you information, almost like how they did it in the TV show. But here's somebody who built this experience, and he was the one answering the phone, and he would sort of play along with you. But through his creativity, he built this elaborate experience that there was a waiting list for months for people to get an opportunity to do this one. There was another cache called Operation Crocodile that I got to experience personally in the woods outside of Frankfurt, Germany. And it was story-driven. You were playing the role of a spy, and you were trying to recover these missiles, but you had to go through the woods. We found like a tree stump that had a hinge on it, and you would open the tree stump, and inside was an old video camera. And when you put, there was all this, instructions in German, and we had some German people with us. And when you push the button, it would make a chirping sound off in the woods. And you found a birdhouse up in a tree, and when you put a flashlight on it, it gave you a frequency to tune to, and you took out an FRS radio and tuned to the frequency, and we found these old bunkers, and you had to find the keys to the bunkers to unlock them, and there was black light, writing on the walls, and it was all about recovering these stolen missiles. And in one of the bunkers, there was a little suitcase that had a video, a display screen on it that played a little bit of a movie, and somebody spent so much time and effort and money to put this experience together because they were creative, they had a story to tell, they wanted to share it with the community. And I can tell you, as somebody who played it, everybody who got to play this experience, it was unreal. Like, when do we get to do things like that in real life? And so if folks are out there and they have, if they're good as metal workers or woodworkers, or if they're, they have some creative ideas for building puzzles and things like that, check out some of the caches on geocaching.com. Like, start with the easy ones, start with the large cache containers that are easy to find, get a feel for it. But then you could look at some of the mystery and puzzle caches and see what other people are doing. Maybe you'll be inspired. Maybe you're already showing up inspired. But then, through sort of acclimation with the game, as you begin to understand it, you will figure out the ways that you can bring your experience to the audience. And when you do, the reward is really you get to hear from everybody that's gone through it, because they write their logs in the logbook. They'll sign the logbook, and then when you find the cache, you log it using the app or online, and that's an opportunity to thank the cache owner, to say, here was my experience. I went out with my wife. She found it first as usual. The dog was along with us. The kids had a great time, and the weather was sunny, but this experience was incredible. To the cache owner, thank you so much. And when you create something like Operation Crocodile or the Tram Operator 24 cache, then you start to get people saying, hey, this is legendary. We've never experienced something like that. Like, you can almost become a hero within the community based on what you are creating and what you are sharing.
Bryan, you landed the plane perfectly, by the way. This interview has taken place between 10:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. on Road Gang Radio. I've been down to do the 24 kind of signature thing there, brother. I really appreciate the time you've made for us this morning. You guys can go to geocaching.com. And if you don't know how that last part is spelled, it is CACHING, geocaching.com. We absolutely are thrilled you could make time for us today, man.